Okay, Jess, I'm not gonna say how many years ago because I don't remember.
I don't either. I feel like it was 20. When did your book come out, Deshawn? It was like
2023.
2022,
Uh,
2023?
yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah, it was around that time then. Because we
Yeah.
So
picked it
3 years
as,
ago.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so 3 years ago, Jess and I were asked to co-host a podcast that we do not, for the life of us, remember the name of. And if y'all are listening to this, blame my mind and not our hearts. I've been through a lot,
yeah.
okay, girl. I'll be suffering from migraines, okay. I'm lucky I remember who I am most of the time. But
Very
that
real.
is sort of Jess and I's like origin story. I've always wanted to do a podcast, and if you've been following my like personal content for a long time, you guys know that I did attempt and fail at that. Um, and Jess and I made almost like instant friends. So when they invited us on to interview Deshawn, Jess and I were like, whatever you need from us,
Yeah,
yes, because we
yeah,
absolutely loved both of his first two
yes,
books.
yeah,
Still talk about them all the time to people.
yes,
Absolutely love
yes,
them. So this episode is like this full circle moment of how far all three of us have come. Really, Jess
Yeah.
and I,
yeah,
as individual content creators, have done so many different things with our book clubs. Jess is doing brunching with the author, and you're going to Ghana next year, Jess.
yeah,
That's huge for a book
yeah,
retreat. Me, the book club, I've
yeah,
interviewed off writing retreats and done all the things. And Deshawn Charles Winslow has another book coming out. I like
yeah.
we're here. This is I feel it just feels serendipitous. Like
It really
it's
does. It really
supposed to
does.
be, you know?
Yeah.
It's funny how things like that align. But that was
And
an
I
interesting interview because they were in the nail
they were
salon.
they were in the
You
nail
remember that, right?
salon.
Remember this.
They were in the nail salon and I was over here like, Shelby, this can't be happening. Right? I think we were texting
We
as
were
this
texting.
was
I was
happening.
like, this is not going
This
because
is
I
not
think
happening.
before that we were tossing back and forth the idea of a literary
Yeah.
podcast and like what that would mean and what did we
Mm-hmm.
really want to do. And it was before I got super sick. So it was like an
Mm-hmm.
idea, but it wasn't like real. And after
Yeah.
speaking to you and like you were super cool, you answered our questions, you
Yeah.
were just real laid back. And then I got to meet you in person at Liz's book bar, and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of solidified, you know, all the
Hmm.
things. So it's just, but yeah, they were in a nail salon, and
The
Jess
nail
and I
salon,
were like, that'll never happen.
she was
That'll
getting her
never
nails
happen.
done. You heard the drilling in the background. I said, I know a good fill,
Yeah.
but right now is not the time. Like, I get the urgency for a fill and a petty, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, not right now.
Right, time and place, and definitely as girls that keep our nails done, Jess and I
Hmm.
are.
Listen,
I
We
see.
keep a
I see.
we keep a
I
full set
get it.
around here.
Yeah. So I empathize, but I was like, this is a little awkward. You were taking it like chilling.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
bet. I
Right.
mean, we all were trying to keep it cute,
Right.
I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was definitely texting my mother on the side, like, you'll never guess. My mother
Yeah.
is my barometer for professionalism because she used to work for Verizon. She ran a call center most of
Okay.
my life. So like my mother has always been think Olivia Pope, but like for business, you know? So it's like if my mama thinks something is unprofessional, then you are doing the most. So I was texting her like, "Am I overreacting? Like, am I not? Is this okay?" And she was like, "That's not okay, baby.
Oh.
Something is not. That's not okay." But I'll never forget that. It is a serendipitous, and y'all just don't never have to worry about me getting my nails done and interviewing anybody because.
Yeah.
Unless
I
you
have
name
Well,
it.
yeah.
Unless you name it the
right,
Nail
unless it's
Salon Book Club podcast.
Mm,
right.
yes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
Which is a
funny
good
because my nail
concept.
tech, I was gonna say my nail tech is a reader. So
Yeah.
like most of the time when I'm getting my nails done, she and I are talking about books because
Yeah.
she's like, this is what I read, this is what I bought. Like, have you heard of this? Or, we're always talking about books at some point in time. So that
Mm-hmm.
would be a good concept. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get my nails done instead of regular nail gossip and
Right.
sitting down and talking about your life.
About
That's
some
the
character.
second idea I've come up with today.
Wow.
Excuse me. The first idea was a housewives like show, but with black authors and like the black publishing industry.
Yes.
I could see it now. Like it would be like these very eloquent confessionals, but they still be messy,
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like, the lit fit girls being shady towards the urban fiction girlies,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fantasy writers being all nerdy and aloof, not knowing if they're
Exactly.
coming or going,
Right. Can you
The
put a
romance
couple?
girls doing
wanted.
peace, trying to have
Yeah.
peace and harmony. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to put two very, very high literary readers or writers in there to just be like, who are all of you? Why are you here? All of you.
Just like that.
Just like that.
They're
Yes.
above the mess. They're above the
Right.
mess. They're chilling.
Too
Yeah.
elevated for all of that. Yes, very much so. But those are my two ideas for today. If anybody makes money from them, I just need a couple dollars
That's all.
off the top. But this is Shelby,
And this is Jess.
and welcome back to the League of Extraordinary Readers. We have, as you guys heard, Deshawn Charles Winslow. He has a new book coming out called The Fervent, and baby, talking about mess.
Yes.
You write small town mess so well. You write it in a way that feels like I am sitting at the kitchen table and listening to the grown folks conversation that I wasn't supposed to be listening to, but I was
Just
listening to
described
anyway.
my whole childhood.
You do that perfectly. Like, I distinctly remember being a kid and wanting the access to be able to sit with the women in the kitchen, right? But knowing that I wasn't old enough, but being able to kind of sneak in, and if I was quiet enough and they didn't notice me and I didn't cause any ruckus, I could sit and I could be nosy. And all your books have that feel to it. What made you, what about small towns, is your favorite, and what like draws you to them?
Well, it's funny because I don't like living in small towns, that's for sure. But having grown up in one. But the reason why I use them for my settings, or at least have so far, is because since everyone knows everyone or knows most of the people in the small town, it gives a writer way more options for tension, because there's the present tension of whatever's going on right then, right there. But there's always going to be some old simmering tension from 5 years ago or even 50 years ago that someone, and so the dissemination of information, especially when you have like a murder going, the dissemination of information can never be quite trusted because someone is harboring something from last month, last year, last decade. So the information gets passed with the it's unreliable, you know? And so
Right.
I feel like that keeps the reader wondering, especially if the writer plants the seed of some sort of old disagreement or some kind of old gripe, then the reader's like, well, can we really trust that information? Because she or he really don't like that person, you know? And so anyway, small towns lend themselves to that sort of plot device, really. Whereas I don't think I could pull that off if I wrote a big city novel. If I wrote a big city novel, it would have to be similar to, and if it was like a mystery, it would have to be similar to that Hulu show that Martin Short is in. I'm forgetting the characters' names, but
Oh,
anyway,
all the murders in the building?
in the building, yes, it
Yeah,
would
all
Oh
have to
murders in
yeah,
the
be
building.
having it in one concentrated
in
area.
one concentrated area. But I don't know that I could write a New York City story. I'm gonna try to,
Mm.
but not a murder mystery or thriller, because I feel like
Mhm.
people, you just don't. People, yeah, people know a lot of people, but it's
Right.
less likely that the neighbor that lives to the left of you is gonna have beef with a friend of yours that lives in another neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know?
Okay, so now you got me thinking because this is why I like talking to authors because I feel like although you guys' talent shows in your writing, right? It really comes out when y'all start talking
Yeah.
because I can hear the wheels are turning,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
your education starts to come out.
Mm,
There was a book that I started reading. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm gonna look for it. I DNF'd it not because it wasn't good, but because I wasn't in the correct headspace to read it. Um, but I know it came out this year, and The Shape of Dreams by April Reynolds.
okay.
Oh yeah, that
And
one.
that
Yeah.
I bought it because, to be honest with you, it's a black female author. Walter Mosley blurbed it. Walter Mosley is one of those authors like yourself that y'all can write your grocery list on the back of a balled up McDonald's napkin and I'm gonna read it. I like it's one of those things. So and it's rare that Walter Mosley blurbs things. You don't see his
Right.
name on things often. So for
Yeah.
him to blurb something, whenever I decide to read it, I'm gonna read it.
Hmm.
But that's a mystery that takes place in New York City.
Gotcha.
And listening to you speak, the first couple of chapters that I read, although it's taking place in New York City, April does have to narrow it down to this particular neighborhood,
Mhm.
but she still is able to give us all of these different perspectives of
Mhm.
this neighborhood. So we're getting multiple points of view of one woman that's seemingly mentally ill. She seems like she's just a high functioning autistic that might just be, left to
Yeah.
her own devices a little bit
Yeah.
too much.
Hmm.
That seems like the neighborhood uh addict, right? But isn't she just a little weird,
Got
right? For lack of better words, that is noticing all of these murders. Um and then she's trying to solve, but then we're getting the perspective of the boy who's murdered's mother, right? So
okay.
although it is she's giving us like this is a problem that is in this really big city, right? That has to do with drugs and probably gang violence and uh, all of these things that is a bigger systemic issue in this big town. She still has secluded it to Harlem. So
Mhm.
I see what you mean because I've had to read it,
Uh-huh. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
and I think it
Yeah.
would be hard to.
yeah, I think the smaller the landscape, for me at least, the smaller the landscape, the more I can really get in there and get people crossing paths and having
Yeah.
conflict. 'Cause without conflict, it's really hard to have a story with some kind of conflict, you know?
That's true. That's true. And would it be like for like in this small town, like the characters are so close knit, having a larger story, would you be able to create conflict or would it just lead to more plot holes happening around as you're creating the story?
I think it would lead, for me, I think it would lead to more plot holes. I think so. I can't articulate why necessarily, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think just also the geographical aspect of small towns, and especially before cell phones, like people walked to each other's houses to have conversations, you know? And
Yeah.
because there was only one line in the house, and if your mama was on it, and you needed to tell somebody down the road something, you was gonna have to either wait for your mama
You
to get
had
off
to
the
go down the
phone,
road.
or you were gonna
Yeah.
walk down there and tell them, you know. And so that's why I have in my first two books, especially, I have so many people visiting other people, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that also helps because they can just take the quick drive or take the walk across the road or whatever, you know. And I don't know how I would pull that off in a big city. I mean, I would have to put them on the train, you know,
Right.
and it just creates stuff that I'm not ready
Okay.
with.
Now it's got me thinking about things that I've recently read and like where they're located. So I read Leave Your Mess at Home by Tolani Akinola. If I'm
Mhm.
mispronouncing
Yeah,
her name, I
yeah.
apologize. That takes place in Chicago.
Okay.
It's not New York.
Okay.
They're on like the subway often or they're in cars a lot. And she uses um transportation for conversation or for deep thought. So it's
Hmm.
like those moments are when they have alone time to reconsider
Yes.
or when like they're having an awkward conversation with someone or something like
Hmm.
Yeah.
that. Like it transitions into something else really well.
Hmm.
Um so now you got me thinking now that's
Yeah. I was
something
just
that's
thinking,
gonna be in my mind.
Yeah.
yeah, I was just thinking about passing as well. By
Mhm.
Nella Larson, a lot of the conversations were in the apartment parties, on a block, at a tea party. Like it was like in
In person.
concentrated areas
Hmm.
in New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I'm gonna like, yeah, now that makes me think a little bit more of like, where have been all the murder mysteries? Like even that murder mystery that was on Netflix with Uzo, I forgot her name. It was in the White House.
In the
It
White
was
House,
all,
yes.
Okay.
yes, and it was just a straight White House murder mystery. And DC obviously is a
Oh,
bigger
yes, I
place, but
remember
it
this
was
scene.
concentrated. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was just right there. I was like, are they gonna go outside of? But
Right.
then it would
But
just create
even
more chaos.
right, but I think that's a very good example because even with it being in the White House, they still were able to they filmed it in a way where it would narrow down to floors. So it didn't
Yeah,
even feel like you were in the
yeah,
White House. So to say they secluded it in a way where it was like each floor was its own
yeah,
thing. Like it was its own character
Hmm.
in a
yeah,
sense.
Hmm.
Because and then if you think about the White House, technically that is on par because it is in a sense. You know, this wing is
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
for this wing is for that, so on and so forth.
That's right.
And that would determine who has access, who would whatever. So
Right.
accurate.
Yep. How
yes,
long
um
it
very,
takes to get from the third floor to the fourth and all that kind of thing.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna be thinking about this for a little bit more intentionally.
Right. But it's like I say that to the book club all the time. I'm like, these are the things that we take for granted, especially when we're reading historical fiction, because there are so many things that we just assume that people know, right? The children don't know they don't have to walk down the street to tell anybody something. They don't have to wait for mommy to get off the phone. They don't know what it's like to have to stretch the phone cord
Right.
all the way through the house to close the
Yeah.
bedroom door
Right.
so that
Mm-hmm.
they can have privacy. They don't know that. They just pick the phone up and they walk to
And they
wherever it
just,
is.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
They
Hmm.
just walk wherever it is. And
Wherever
their
for
wherever it is. And their version of that may be, oh, my mom controls my screen time, right? So after 8 p.m. I can't do X, Y, and Z, right? They're gonna have their own versions of it. But if they were to read this book eventually, they're not gonna understand, or at least they're gonna have to use context clues and do the little bit of research to understand like, oh,
mm-hmm.
there was such thing as a landline because who has a
Land.
Yeah.
landline anymore?
Yeah, no.
I haven't been in a house
Tell
in
you
one at
who.
least a decade, at least.
My godparents. I was at their house the other day and the house phone rang and I was so perplexed. I was like,
Yeah. My
what?
grandparents still have one too. My grandpa regularly uses it. He has a phone, a cell phone, but he refuses to use his cell phone sometimes.
So you don't
He'll
even
use it to
consider
call us,
you don't even
but he
consider a
don't.
landline a phone.
Right, he has a phone. Well,
He-
baby, he has
but
two
he has a few
technically.
phones. That's how deep we are into the
Exactly,
phone
that's how
sits
deep we are.
literally right in the corner next to his little spot, and it
No, that's right.
rings, and he be making phone calls on that thing. My grandma be
But
like
you,
trying to get me to delete voicemails
huh?
too.
But you
Everything.
know, something else somebody said, they were like, the most millennial thing that they do is they don't answer serious
Yes.
emails on their cell phone, or they don't do business on their cell phone. They will do it on a laptop. And I was like, same. I'm not sending a long email from my phone. Whereas the kids, that's all they know. That's
And
regular to them. And I will
yeah.
sit at this computer and type out whatever it is.
Yeah,
Even
Yep.
even some things, even if I have my iPad with the keyboard connected, it's too serious for that. I need my computer.
me too.
I need it.
Get me out
And
of
you know what
computer.
bugs me is seeing the scent from iPhone. Because I don't want you to know I sat here and typed this on my
Sent it from an
iPhone.
iPhone. Right. But then also the professionalism, because I remember distinctly
Mm-hmm.
when they were teaching us how to type, when they were teaching us etiquette for emails and such, that a
Yes.
signature on an email was important, and that it showed
Yes.
you knew who you were and that you were who you thought you were. If
Yes.
you had an email signature,
That's right.
okay?
That's
And
right.
if it
Yeah.
says sent from an iPhone, then how could you ever take me serious as anything?
That's
Right.
right.
And I'm sure the people don't care. Us millennials and older care. The
Yeah.
babies they don't care. They
They
Yeah.
like,
don't
baby,
care.
did you get
Yeah.
did the email get to us? Did it get answered? Did it get sent? Yes, fine. Here we are holding up societal standards that are all fake.
Mhm.
But still, I delete if I do have to send an email from my phone, I do delete that sent from iPhone every time.
I think
Yeah.
I do too,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's, I'm like y'all. I think I'll short replies on my phone. If it's going to be more than
Mm-hmm.
a paragraph, then I'm waiting till I get back to my laptop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I got to sit
Yeah.
down.
I
I
gotta sit
just it's
down.
there's an etiquette to it all, no matter what the, what the and the we it's like we've lost the seriousness to things because we have so much access to stuff.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
We
Yep.
just
Yeah.
even with like Google, I went to Google something earlier and it's starting to piss me off that everything is Google's AI thing. And I'm
AI.
No.
like, I
I
don't want
can't.
to
I need to get rid of it. I'm trying to get rid of it. I don't know how.
Yeah, I got to learn how to
because I
Because
turn
if
don't
I
want to have
Google
a
how, I don't want to have that.
it's gonna actually have a conversation with it.
Yeah.
hmm
And I just like if I Google how to get rid of you, it's gonna tell me, and I
Right.
have to still converse with it to tell me
Yeah,
what's
I don't.
happening.
It's really
It's so
we really
annoying.
have we live in a world now where everything is automated, and
Yeah.
it's weird, but it's refreshing to have books like this that give us a
Yes.
glimpse into what was or what still can be, right? Like I'm very tempted to be like, "Mama, we need a house phone. I don't know who gonna call it, but
Just creating more bills for
like
yourselves.
especially once I have a kid, like I might just need to we have a house phone, and if something happens, you call that
Yeah.
phone
Right. And then you
and you
have
have
that,
somewhere to call.
forward those call, have those calls forwarded to your cell phone too.
So
Just in case I'm not in the house, so I don't miss none of those calls.
Right. Right.
Oh, that is so funny. So the premise of the Fervent Whites, there is a murder, but there's also a conversation about adoption and about um white people adopting black children and the after effects of that. Was there a true story or anything that inspired you to add this to that story, or where did you come
Yeah.
up with that?
Yeah. So my youngest two siblings are adopted. They are a brother and sister set. They're biological siblings. And so my parents fostered them. Oh, let's see. My sister's older by about a year and a half. So I think she was 3, and I think my brother, 2, and I think my brother was like 6 months or something when they
Mhm.
came to my parents, as I had already left home. Um, when they came to my parents as foster children. And I believe they were like 4 and 6 when my parents adopted them. But they are black. But the reason why the book has cross racial adoption is because my mom has fostered many children who were not black, and she has had considered a couple of times adopting, but by that time my father had passed, my mother was in her mid 60s, and the state was like, this is not, we don't want to do that. Like, these children are really small, and you may decide 5 years from now that you don't want any young small kids in the house, and
Right.
Yeah.
so I think I was glad that they enforced that. But my mom was more than willing to adopt. There was a little boy named Ethan, I believe. It was either Ethan or Nathan. And he ended up going to his grandfather. But my mother was ready to adopt him. I think she had him for a year or a little over a year, and she was ready to adopt him. He was the blackest little white kid you would ever meet.
I love that.
Yeah, but that's where the idea came from. But yeah, but I just flipped it. I was like, what if, white kids, which, we see is much more common today to see
Mhm.
white couples adopt black children, both from American black children and especially African black children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's good.
I don't think I ever. It's one of those things that, like, I think we've all kind of thought about it in passing because we see celebrities do it. So it's like a fleeting conversation that you share your thoughts on.
Mhm.
But your book really got me thinking. I I
Yeah.
think I would be like Sylvia, and I'd be like, get that black baby out the house.
Yeah.
Get that black baby out of people's house today, by
Right.
Yeah.
tonight. There are just so many things, and not even from I think I empathize with Sylvia because it's one of those things where it's like I'm not even necessarily calling Ella and James bad people at first, right?
Yeah.
Until you
Yeah.
give me reason to say otherwise. It's just as black people, as black women, we understand the plight of a black man from the inception of. And it's like there are just so many things that could happen in that household, intentional or unintentional, that they could do well meaning that could damage that baby,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even if Sylvia said that same verbiage,
Hmm.
it still would go right over their heads, you know?
Right.
So it's
Right.
like, it's just one of those things. And I think it was cool that you used the book club
Hmm.
to have, because I was like, and that's just like a white lady. That's just like a,
Yes.
that's just like her to try to weaponize our literature to prove their point. Whole time you don't even really understand what it is you're reading and why, right? You're not even open to the conversation. You just want to prove your own point. I was like, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good,
Yeah.
right? And piecing all the pieces was hitting.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I also think about when I'm on TikTok and I do see people with adopted, like white couples with adopted black kids, and it's always coming down to maintaining their hair, and people in the comments trying to be like, I don't know if you should have adopted if you can't maintain or try to maintain their hair or understand the nuances of being black. And it's
Hmm.
always like those type of conversations on social media happen kind of like what we see Syl do in the book, similar to that, is like, I want to kind of save you from what's going on. So it made me think about like back that time is it's like also another version of like what's happening on TikTok, just more widespread and open. Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Hmm. I believe that
Yeah.
I believe if people have parental instincts, I believe they can be good
Mhm.
parents to anyone. But um I do believe that there is a cost. I think especially white people in America, if you're going to adopt a black child, and especially a black boy, I think you have to make sure that they are spending time around black men, black people, and
Yes.
they need to spend time around black women as well.
Yes.
Because if
Mhm.
they are adopted by, my cat is going to get talkative here in a second. If 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 a black boy is not spending time around Black women. If his adopted white mother is not spending time, she doesn't have Black women friends. His white dad doesn't have any kind of relationship with Black women outside of the office, then he's going to avoid Black women most of the
Right.
time. And
Yeah,
and
that's true.
and he won't even he might avoid Black people, but he may not even be conscious of it, because what he sees for the majority of his or her their time at home is whiteness. I think it could just be happening without anybody realizing it. So I think when people adopt cross-racially, but especially white people adopting children of color, I think they have to make the effort to make sure that those children or that child is spending time around and with people of color, because the whole world is not going to look at them and say, "Oh, they are adopted by white parents. We're going to treat them differently." You know?
Right.
Very true.
Angelina Jolie has done a very good job. She
She
has,
did.
with all of her, because she has a mixed race bunch.
Uh-huh.
But I know her daughter, one of her daughters specifically, like went to Spelman. She's pledged,
Okay.
I believe, AKA, and like
Yeah.
where I feel a lot of white parents would have probably like removed themselves from the process. Angelina Jolie was at that baby's probate, like has been like trying to support and learn about, and has been acting like visibly there,
Yeah.
as and not even trying to be there to take over, right, or to save or whatever, but there to support her baby, because that's
Just
what mamas do.
right.
You
Yeah.
know, her and all right, Shelby Charades. You know, I don't know nobody's name. What's the lady from Practical Magic? And she was in Miss Congeniality.
Sandra Bullock.
Um,
Yes, Sandra Bullock. She
yes.
has a black baby also. See,
That's
that was a good one, Jess. Jess was getting
It
nervous
was
because
good.
I do Shelby Charades all the time, and
I
I
was like,
it get a
oh,
little spooky.
I was
But
like, oh
that was
boy.
that wasn't a bad one. But Sandra Bullock, she has her son is black, and I remember she did a couple of interviews where she was just like, once he got to a certain age, she was just like, you can't do certain things that the other boys do or that like your siblings do because you are black, and that's not me, you know, whatever. Like, I have to keep you safe. It's my responsibility as your mother to keep you safe, and this world is bullshit, and this is how I have to do that for you, you know. So it's good to see examples like that. And there are a few, just mentioning people on TikTok, there's one couple, it's a whole bunch of stuff going on in their house. I think they have like 5 adopted kids, but then they like combined, they have like 6 or 7 animals.
Oh,
Yeah, like half dogs, some of them cats, and like those babies are well taken care of. And like most of her videos, she doesn't always show the babies' faces. Most of her videos of her cleaning, but they get a lot of PR and stuff like that, and they donate a lot of it. So she's like, oh, they sent us a bunch of stuff, we don't need all of this excess. They take it to, you know, the little drop boxes around the neighborhoods, or they take it to the schools, or whatever the case may be. But it's, you know, people like that that give you hope that the children are being well taken care of, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, kind of, we talked about the writing process a little bit. What was your writing process like for this book in particular? And do you have any like rituals you tend to lean towards when writing a new book?
Um, I don't really have rituals. Um,
Mhm.
when I was writing my first book, I was I was still I started it. I was still an MFA student. So it was easy to get into a routine. I went to the University of Iowa's main library, and
Mm.
I learned I learned when was the best time to go and have the library like almost to myself, you know? So I did have a little bit of a ritual in that I definitely went on Saturdays during the fall, because the library would be empty on Saturday but full on Sundays. Um,
Hmm.
but with book 2 and 3, I kind of lost ritual, because the pandemic hit while I was trying to write book 2, which means I wrote at home, you know, and that was something I'd always said I couldn't do. Oh, I can't write at home. But I did. I wrote that book at home. I wrote most of Fervent at home. Um, but yeah, but my writing process, it has been slightly different for each book. With I don't outline necessarily, but I do try to make sure I have a good idea of what's gonna happen, big plot points that are gonna happen.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't call it outline. But I think something I do is I try to decide the ending before I even start, so I have something to write toward. And the ending may change slightly, but
Okay.
if there's somebody if it's a murder mystery, then obviously we're gonna find out who did it. Um, but I may do something different right before we find out. Like I could, with decent people, I couldn't even, it took me a while to decide who the killer was. I was like, I can't decide who the killer's gonna be, but I know who it's not gonna be, you know?
Okay.
And when I
Yeah.
made the decision that it was not gonna be these three people, then I could at least keep going. But so yeah, my writing process is it's all over the place. I haven't hunkered down. I haven't locked down a system yet, quite. Yeah.
I think that's
That's
going to give a lot
interesting.
of writers some hope. I think there are a lot
Yeah.
of people that I talk to that are aspiring that
Mhm.
feel like they should have some strict, like I get up at 5 a.m. and I write 3,000 words and I do that every day,
Man,
for 3 months and then I get a book, But
right.
there are some, like we had Clavis Natera on it because Clavis Natera does everything but run this planet
Yes,
in one
He
single day.
does.
Mama
exactly.
is busy. I
I
mean,
know.
she wake up in the morning, hits the ground running, and then still finds
Yes.
time to run a marathon. I don't know how she
Absolutely.
does it.
Absolutely.
She's one of those people that has a schedule like that, right? Because her life requires it. But
Hmm.
then we talk to authors like you, or like I know Sibo Campbell has a little bit more of a lax one, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It just depends. So
Right.
I think
Yeah.
there are going to be some authors that somebody just sighed real hard, like, "Whoa, thank God,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
where I'm supposed to be."
Legit.
Right. One thing that has been consistent with all three books is I am very deadline oriented. So sometimes um, I will tell my agent, I'm gonna have this draft to you by September 1st. And he'll be like, okay, that's fine. You take your time. And I'm like, but no, I have to come up with a date because
Hmm.
if
I'm the
I don't
same
come
way.
up with a
Yeah.
date, it'll be December 1st,
Right.
Yes.
you know. And so I do give myself deadlines. Even with my first book, I didn't have an agent while I was writing that book. And so there was no practical reason to get it done other than wanting to be an author. um
Yeah.
but I had to give myself deadlines. I was like, okay, I want to try to have a book sold. I want to try to have a book out by the time I'm 40. So that means the book needs to be sold at least by while I'm 38. And I it worked out. The book came out in West Mills came out 3 days after my 40th birthday.
Oh
And
wow.
so I give myself deadlines to try to force things to happen. So there are
No, that's
periods
right.
yeah, there are periods where I'm like, okay, for the next month, if I'm going to get this whole draft to my agent by September 1st, all of August, I got to write every day, minimum of 3,000 words a day. So there are periods when I do have a routine,
Mm.
but it's not the whole time. It's not the whole
Okay.
time. Yeah.
So, do you get like sparks of inspiration just randomly? Like, do you track that in a notebook or do you have like an app on your phone where you just kind of write random things down?
No, I think I get ideas. Most of the time, I get ideas from real life stuff. Like, for
Okay.
example, Fervent, the first nugget of that idea came to me in 2020 when I moved upstate New York. Um, I was living in Brooklyn, the lease ended, and my then partner and I we were like, well, let's go try upstate. The rent will be cheaper. We can't be out and about anyway. We may as well be in the country. And so I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So we go up there, and we move on to this hamlet called Malden. It's in the town of Socrates. And the landlord and his family are from El Salvador. But as we were there moving in and stuff, we started to realize, oh wait, they might be the only people of color on this hamlet, you know, and or at least the only ones we see regularly. And so I asked the landlord, I said, are there other people of color that own property here on Malden? And he said there may be other owners of people, POC owners of property, but we are the only ones that live here full time. And I did end up seeing an interracial gay couple, uh, but I don't even think my landlord knew about them. I don't think he had met them. But anyway, being one of just like a handful of POC on a small little, I keep wanting to call it an island. It's not an island, but I would be like, okay, I'm gonna be going for my walks. They don't see black people regularly walking past their house. You know, what is this like? And then I would wave at people and some waved back, but most didn't, you know? And I was like, oh wow, I am living this feels like 1955, upstate New York, you know. So then that gave me the first little bit of an idea, but I didn't pursue it because I was working on Decent People, you know. And then the shooting at Tops grocery store upstate, I think it was in Albany or Troy, New York. I forgot
It was
exactly.
Albany, I think. The one that was
Okay.
like the mass shooting,
The
right?
mass shooting, yes.
Yeah, it was Albany, yeah.
Yeah. So that happened, and I was like, oh, I gotta write now that I have lived upstate and I know that the black population upstate is low, I have gotta write a book that incorporates that element too, you know? And things just kept piling on and piling on. And then I read a thriller, which now I can't remember the name of it. I read a thriller in which someone comes back from prison. I didn't finish it actually because I realized the book didn't have like any people of color in it. And I was like, come on, no people of color in this book. So I DNF'd it. You know, I ended up going back and reading the whole thing later, but I DNF'd it at the time.
At the time.
And so but anyway, it was about a person getting out of prison after having been accused of something, and the neighbors being like, oh my God, did she really come back here? Why wouldn't she go somewhere else? So it reminded me, and here's another part of the idea. It reminded me of when I was in middle school. One of my classmates' father went to prison for trying to have her mother killed. And he is now, this was when I was in middle school, which would have been in the 90s, the early 90s. And he is now out of prison, living in the neighborhood again, living in the community, my hometown again. And I was just like, he just gonna bring his ass right back to the neighborhood like he went to jail for a speeding ticket or something. Like,
Okay, that's crazy. And I can add to something to that, but I can't say it on air.
okay, got it. And so when I realized that he was back out, someone, cousin or somebody texted me and was like, so and so dad is out. And I was like, oh God, I forgot he was about that whole situation. And he just came back home like, hey y'all, I'm back, you know? And I was just like, I would
You
never
know,
move back into my small hometown
Never.
where it was proven that I tried to have my wife killed, the mother of my children killed. So that added another element to the book of just like having
okay.
people that have the
Interesting.
gall to come back, even though they turn out to be innocent in my book. Like I still wouldn't come back if I'd been accused of murder. I'd be
Because
like,
I
I'll go
surely
live.
have been in that man's face. Like, you really tried to kill that lady?
Like,
Yeah,
what is
And I'm just supposed
happening?
to sit here like you don't
right,
live across the street from me?
right, exactly.
That's great. I was gonna ask you, this is something I thought about. while reading. Well, you already answered the question. You lived in Socrates. Did you go back up there for research purposes, or did you like just use whatever you already
I
knew?
did. I did not go back. Yeah.
Okay.
Since I moved, because I only lived there for 1 year, since I moved away, I have only stopped in Socrates to get gas on my way to Vermont to go to Bennington College. Yeah. Only stopped for gas. And I think I went to the McDonald's that was right next to the gas station. But I was like, I don't need to go back to this town to write this book. You
I
know,
feel like
I
I
lived
drive past
it.
Socrates to get up to Rhinebeck. So
uh-huh.
mom and I go to Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool every year, which
Yeah,
is fabulous. I mean, I go for the snacks. My mama go for the yard stuff. I be there
yeah,
for the food. Lovely time, beautiful gowns, beautiful, beautiful gowns. It's a lovely place to look at. But now I'll be looking at Socrates with a side eye.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll be
And
looking
it
at them a
Yeah.
was
little
not
funny.
some of that racism. Like there was one coffee shop, and the people at the coffee shop were nice. I don't want to disparage the owners because they were a very nice couple, and I believe their daughter worked there. But there were um this coffee shop was open. They could only have like 5 or 6 customers at a time because of the spacing that needed to be done. And so there was a time when I was like, I gotta get decent people finished. And I was like, I'll go to the coffee shop. I'll get there shortly after they open so I can get a table. And I would go there like some weeks, I would go every morning. And there were a couple of people who were there every morning. There was a couple in particular, and they would not greet me.
Mm.
They just refused to greet me. And I'm like, I come in here every morning and walk past y'all table and nod my head, and y'all refuse. They just refuse to speak. And I was like, this
Wow.
is 2020, man. Come on. You know?
That's yeah.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, the older I get, the more I'm turning into my grandmother. My mother's mother, uh,
Mm-hmm.
her name is Gail Maxine Glaspie. She is somewhere in the next realm, rolling her eyes real hard because she hated her middle name.
Yeah.
But my grandmother was a very like a fiery woman, like the kind to
Mm-hmm.
cuss you out and feed you all in the same breath.
Right.
And my grandmother would have been like, I know y'all see me. Like
Right.
she would have made them speak to her. And it used to embarrass me so much. Like my grandmother was that, but she was loud. Like just with everything, she was loud. And it would, I wasn't always the person that I am today, right? Like I was a kid that did not necessarily want to be seen. I was
Mm-hmm.
okay with, I've always been an introvert, right? I was okay with not being seen. I didn't necessarily want to talk. It was
Yeah.
okay. And here was my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother, getting me off the school bus, cussing the cars out because they wouldn't stop. And literally cussing. It wasn't just yelling at them. She literally was calling
That's
them all
funny.
kind of motherfuckers and bitches. And if you hit my fucking grandbaby, that's your ass. Like it was
Right.
all of that.
Right.
Hearing you say that, I'm turning into my grandmother because I surely would have been like, so what y'all having for breakfast?
Yeah.
Oh, y'all see me? You can't hear? Maybe you should get that checked out.
Right.
I know a doctor.
Yeah.
You know, that's my grandmother and me.
That's
That's all that
crazy.
is because my grandmother surely would have been like, or she could be passive aggressive where she would have went up to order her coffee and been like, you know them bitch ass motherfuckers over there that don't never
They
speak to
want to speak.
nobody.
Uh-huh.
It would have been like that.
Yeah. I
It
hear
would have
you.
made everybody uncomfortable.
Right.
Everybody. My grandmother did not care about anything. And then probably would have made you laugh. And by the time she left, you would have been like, Miss Gail, she is something else. Miss Gail.
So your lane seems to be like murder mystery, historical fiction, thrillers type of vibe. Do you plan to like venture to any different genres?
Yes, I do. The book that I'm planning to write now, I've only written 8 pages, and I'm not sure if they will survive. I think I've already changed my mind about them. But I am trying a romance. I'm trying a romance. Yeah. So what I have not decided yet though is if it will be kind of like your standard romance or if it'll be a romance with I guess I'm just going to call it a literary romance. If there will be some social issue in the background going on that brings the two love interests together, or
Mhm.
or if it will be, there's a part of me right now that does not want to write a serious, like that doesn't want to have a serious backdrop. Like, I would love to try my hand at writing a book about just about two people in their late 30s meeting each other, and they have their own little individual conflicts going on, but eventually the book ending with them getting engaged or whatever,
Right.
without there being a George Floyd type of situation going on in the background, or a Trump
Mhm.
just got
Right.
elected again thing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I would love to do, but I know how I am, and I'll start writing this more standard romance, and the next thing I know, I've made the woman a civil rights attorney, you know, and then we're dealing with, and then I got to bring her work into it, and then so I'm gonna see what happens, but I do want the book to be technically a romance. I just got to decide what.
Mm. You know the girls are gonna go up for that. Like,
Oh
I
yeah, the
know a
girls
lot of
love romance.
people, the girls love, a lot of people look for male authors that write romance. I know
I
it's not
hear.
necessarily a major thing. It's obviously
Well, here's what as the romance connoisseur here,
Yeah.
what I find when men write romance, we either get um very well written romance, right? In whatever kind of couples they write,
Uh-huh.
or we get misogynistic, borderline abusive,
Hmm.
literal trauma porn, not the stuff that they call trauma porn, but literal, like they are writing out what they wish that they could
They
do
could do to a
in
woman.
real life.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's scary and it's unsettling.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I also think like Walter Mosley's new book that comes out
Next
Tuesday.
week, yeah, next
Mm.
Tuesday.
That's quote unquote romance. But a
Okay.
friend of ours read it already. She got an arc for it. And when she first started reading it, she was like, Shelby, this isn't a, and I was like, oh, you must be new to Walter Mosley. There was no way in God's, in this realm or the next, that Walter D. Mosley was ever going to write a traditional type of romance.
Traditional
Like that
romance.
was never going
Hmm.
to be, it was going to be his version of whatever hit. I remember I saw him like a year ago when like he first submitted this book, I guess, or like it was had just got done being edited or whatever, and they were like sure that it was going to be published, whatever. And he was like, "Oh, it's going to be a romance in a traditional sense," and I'm like, "Oh, that's basically literary fiction."
Hmm.
Before it was literary fiction,
Yeah.
you know. So I think I say all of that to say is I think that's what a lot of men end up writing. I think a lot of men in their mind, what their romance is literary fiction because just from I don't think a lot of men are naturally romantic.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So their version of love is very like practical and logistic in
And
the
legit.
same way that literary fiction is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what women consider romance in the literal or the literary sense is more fantastical and
Uh-huh.
dreamy and like all of that, and no foul, no harm. I don't think a lot of men come to that naturally.
Yes. That's what I have read on forums. When I first had the idea to try it, I I did some Googling. I looked up forums, and a lot of the comments are almost exactly what you've described, where when they are written by men, especially straight men, it's a lot of hyper attention on the women's bodies in a way that she
Yes.
wouldn't describe her body,
Yeah.
you know? So, and I have read comments that say, yeah, this is clearly not the way a woman thinks about herself, the way, this is clearly
Right.
a straight
Hmm.
man's gaze, and not like a tender straight man's gaze. Like,
Right.
uh-huh. Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I said to a man before, I said I think Black women that write romance, like that's Black women's love letter to Black men. It's the possibility of Black men. It's what we see in you, whether we've
Yeah.
physically experienced it or not. We see the possibility of it in you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the romance that they write, it's like you niggas hate us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think we knew that. But my God, today,
Yeah.
y'all don't like us.
Right. Yeah.
Not even a little bit. So I'm if that's what I'll read anything you write.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
We believe,
but I think it'll.
we're a
I believe
fan
in
account
you.
over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
I also think like it'll throw people for a loop because going into a romance by a Black man is always going to be
It's 50-50,
weird
right?
territory. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like you got to
Mhm.
sit in the troops first to look around and be like, all right, what's in here now?
Yeah. Yeah. I want what I really want to do is I want to write a romance that is fun. I want the female protagonist especially to I don't want I want her to be very happy with this man. Not that he will be perfect, right? But I want her to have a good time in the book. I want her to enjoy the courtship.
Yeah.
I want the courtship to be different from whatever may be going on at whatever job I give her or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
I want the courtship to be delightful and not hard.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
that's my
I like that a
goal.
lot.
Mm.
Last question. What part of the book was fun or hard to write?
The hardest part to write, and I'm gonna mention it without spoiling, but towards the end, when Seal is, I guess it's not too much of it's a thriller, so people expect people to be captive at some point. But when Seal becomes unfree, that was hard to write because I was like, I don't know how to do this. How do I write somebody being handcuffed or locked in a room or like
Okay.
what would they do, you know? And so and I've never lived in a house with a basement. I've had family members who've had basements and I tried to remember like what was in the basement because nobody was spending a lot of time down there, you know? So like what do basements smell like? What are the floors like? You know, that was hard. And then trying to get in the mind of a person who is detained in some way, you know.
Right.
That was really it was really hard. But then I just decided I was like, don't overthink it. It's not like she's being held for weeks. She's only being held for
Right.
like a day, you know?
Right.
So I was able to, it would have been hard if I have written like a kidnap novel where the person is kidnapped for
Yeah.
the majority of the book. I would have been like, Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, you know? So, but that was the hardest part. That was the hardest. I think the parts I enjoyed most are Seal and Fate having their funny banter and writing
Yeah.
when Fate is bantering with the other ladies in the neighborhood. Those were fun to me, for me.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
Faye said to her that she needed to get the more expensive pillows, and he was like, "It probably fixes what's wrong with your neck," and she was like,
Yeah.
"What's wrong with my neck?" And he just walked away. I was like,
I
I
love
like
their
him.
friendship.
I
Yeah,
like
I
him.
like
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
friendship.
I
Yeah.
wanted him to be like I already know they're gonna be some people who are probably gonna say I didn't give Fate that he might be too stereotypically gay. But here's the thing. I feel like when I look at old documentaries from the 80s, like Paris is Burning, for example, you know,
Yeah.
when I look at those documentaries, those guys were unapologetically gay. Like, we know that the very masculine gay man existed. They still do. The very ma- closeted, straight presenting gay men, they exist. They have always existed. But I'm like, I can write a what we call in the gay community a butch queen, where it's like it's a man who he dresses like a man, he talks like a man, but he can have a flair and you know and be catty and sassy and like it's okay. It's real. There are gay men like that, and I'm a mix of it all. Sometimes people tell me, "Oh, I didn't know you were gay." And I'm like, "Girl, how you didn't know I'm gay?" Like, and I can get real catty and queen out, And so I'm like, I want to write a I want to write a gay character who's recognizable, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I love that.
I
I
like
think he
that.
was.
It was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Thank
was.
you.
Good time.
So is there an author you would like to do praise for today?
Yeah. Yeah. I just got finished reading a galley. Well, it's not a technical galley yet. I think they'll be printing them soon, but a bound copy. Monica West's her first book was called Revival Season. It came out in 2021, and her second book is coming out, I believe, January. It's coming out early 2027, and it's called Light the Way. And I'll tell you just a little bit about it. It is about a young lady. This is a Black family. A young lady goes missing, and her younger sister, her slightly younger sister, is the one looking for her. She finds that that her older sister has joined a cult, and it's a religious cult. And the sister, who is our protagonist, she goes into the cult as well. That's the way she goes about trying to free her sister. She becomes a part of it. And it's a wonderful, fascinating book. So I
Now,
can't
I
wait.
don't know if you know, I love me a cult. I ain't
Yeah.
We
now
love a good
on a
cult
bad day they
around
might could pick me.
here.
They drive a minivan around here. I'd be depressed enough they might could pick me up. Some matching t-shirts, a bit of free Wi-Fi, they might could get me
Yes.
now. Y'all might see
Yes.
me on a documentary.
Right.
But
Love a
that
good
sounds
cult.
interesting, especially
Yeah.
from a Black author.
A
Now,
Black
I've
author.
seen her first book, I've never read it, but now
Mm-hmm.
Jess and I
Yeah.
will be together next week. Just put it on the list of things that we got to grab
Yeah. Put that on
while
your net galley
while
wish
we
list.
running.
Okay.
Light the
Yeah.
Okay.
way.
Okay.
And then we could put her on the list for next year or later
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this year
No,
as
that
well.
sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time. I
Ooh.
love anything about a cult. It's so cults are so fascinating to me
They
because
are.
it's so much going on, and it's like I understand people's want for community,
Yes.
but as soon as people start talking about how like they are Jesus or they are God, I'm like, that don't feel
That's when
wrong.
I gotta go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When they start
Mm-hmm.
that's
making you
when.
do things
Right.
that don't even sound right,
Right.
you got to get up on out of there. Use a
Yep.
senses.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
in the Nature Boy documentary when they was
Mhm.
living outside in the tents in the backyard of the well-functioning house. I'm not living outside.
And she
I've
was
heard
sneaking
about
in to go. Oh, you should proceed
You
with
should not
caution.
watch
It's
it.
a
Don't
whole.
it.
It's a yeah. I went down a whole rabbit hole. I stopped the rabbit hole because it's just too much.
We watched it so that you don't have to.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
Got it.
the synopsis is a Black man from Harlem that was living in Atlanta told everybody to move to Costa Rica with him because that is where, at first he was saying Africa because that's the motherland, but he changed his plans and said Costa Rica's the motherland. So we're going to go there. And he invited all these Black folks to join a cult. And it spirals from there. I'm not even, yeah.
Wow.
But there was a part in, like Shelby described, where the girl they have a house, a full functioning house, but they were told to poop outside. So she would
Right, you
go
could
in
not
the
use the
house.
bathroom in the house.
Yeah, she would sneak at night in the house to poop. And then eventually later on, she did her ones and twos in nature because they figured out somebody did something. And she's like, yeah, I grew watermelon from it.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly that.
So
Exactly
that's just
that.
one of the things.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
I think the other thing about it is some of the stuff that they were admitting to on that documentary, like the beginning of The Color Purple. I wouldn't have told nobody but God.
See, now I gotta watch it.
Nobody.
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Nobody but God. I wouldn't. I
Too
mean, and
curious.
even he would have had to
Yeah.
waterboard it out of me.
No, it's so like it's bad. Like even though the Hulu documentary gave like a watered down version of it, like it's just enough to be like,
Ew.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It
maybe I won't watch
yeah.
it all, but I think maybe I'll start it just to get to that point where I'm like, okay, I had enough. You know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very fascinating how he was able to, you know,
Get so many people
I
that had potential to do good things. Like even people were leaving their own children at home
yeah.
to just go like follow this man. But I don't know. I didn't.
And then, I'm vain. I've had to admit that to myself. I'm too vain for a lot of things, right? I told Jess a recent doctor appointment, we were talking about some of like the new aura that I've been getting with my migraines, and I was like, I'm too vain for a psych facility, okay?
Yeah.
So we have to figure this out because I'm too vain for that.
Mhm.
I'm too vain. Like, he's not even attractive enough to
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
risking
no.
all of this for.
Yeah.
See?
You understand? I'm too vain. I'm too vain to live outside. I have
Couldn't do
Yeah.
it.
as soon as I can't
Girls
do my a million
fighting.
step shower every day like I like to do. I got like 17 different steps that I do to keep this skin glistening.
Yeah.
I'm too vain. And that's okay.
Right.
I tell people
Yeah.
all the time, my great grandfather used to dye his chest hair so nobody knew that it was gray. I come from
See?
vain people. It's in my blood. I'm
Listen.
too vain for all. I'm too vain. A cult would, at least by the end of the business day, it would be my cult. It's either one or two
Yes.
things.
Mhm.
Right.
Either I'm going home or it's gonna be mine.
It's gonna be yours. Right. And y'all gonna be housed at the Holiday Inn, the Marriott. The Marriott.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's gonna be. It's only two ways out of here. Either you let me go home, or it's gonna be mine by the end of the day.
Yeah.
End of business day. It's gonna be a totally different setup.
Yes.
One or the other.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, that was. I'm gonna think about Nature Boy for a long time because he's in prison and they're still
on the
they're still
wives
like
are still on TikTok.
worshiping and following him and believing in him. And
They
such.
still do it. I come across them on like because I went down the rabbit hole. I should have never
Yes.
gone there.
Yeah,
But
you
they
messed
come
your
across.
algorithm up.
I messed my algorithm up. So now
Your
I see
algorithm
them
think that
talk.
you might be an extra wife, Jess. Your algorithm is like, we might have a recruit.
Yes.
They got the wives on there saying, we love him, we worship him, send us money, we're gonna like. And then so this is the other side of things. It's like there's this guy, Hood Horrors, he made his own documentary about Nature Boy on YouTube. That guy, since everybody found about his in-depth documentary, I dropped off around like episode 20. I couldn't keep going. It was a lot. It was too much. It was more than what was shown. But homie is having like a psychotic breakdown. Like he was on YouTube live for like 24 hours straight because a lot of people, like I guess they took down one of the episodes and he's making all this money. Like he's spiraling. But then it comes to find out like people were either, I'm not sure if it's true, that he is funding Nature Boy's life in prison from this full-on documentary. So like this man has like wrapped him. It's like you're gonna need another documentary for the after effects of all of this. Yeah,
Right.
it's the wives are brainwashed. Even like some of the people in the film, it feels like
like in the Hulu
they weren't
one.
caught. Yeah, if they weren't
like
caught, they still would be in it.
Yeah, their conversation still sounds very indoctrinated. Like that if somebody walked up on them on the street and was like, let me tell you about my Lord and Savior Elmo, that they would go with him. They would go. They I wouldn't. I would keep all my good eyes on them if I was their family. Like they don't seem stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. Yes, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But that sounds like it's gonna be good. We definitely gonna have Monica West on because I want to know how did she come up with a cult? Who thought that would join to save your sister? Now I got to go downstairs and ask my sisters would they join a cult to save me. I know one of them might say yes.
Yeah.
The other one is gonna be like, I don't know.
Questionable.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think yeah. This is But let's get into a game of this or that before we end.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna pose two options and you're just gonna say which one. You can give a reason, but you don't have to give a reason. All right. All right. Starting off with handwritten draft or digital draft.
Digital.
Zora Neale Hurston or Toni Morrison.
That's hard. I'm gonna say Tony though. Toni
Okay.
Morrison. Yeah.
Would you rather reread your least favorite book every month or never write again?
Ooh, I would. Yeah, I'll read the least favorite.
Okay. Have unlimited conversations with the character you wrote or unlimited conversations with your favorite author?
Oh no, it's gonna be a character I wrote. Yeah, I don't want to talk to an author unlimited.
That's hilarious. Stuck in your favorite fantasy world or your favorite time period?
Ooh, I might go with time period.
Oh, what time period?
I think I would love to have been alive. I was born in the end of the 70s. Something fascinates me about the 70s for some reason. Yeah. So I would say like the early 70s.
Yeah, they were free. They were a little bit
Yeah,
more going.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, the fashion
Yeah.
alone, I would be,
The
Yeah.
I
fashion
mean,
alone.
dress.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Music.
I
Also,
like
would
this.
like to hear, like, I would like to be a fly on the wall in a studio for a lot of like Parliament and Funkadelic albums.
Absolutely.
Like, if
The
I
music.
had a time machine, that's where I'm going. I want to be in there while they are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
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 Yeah. I
Yeah.
thought you would say Zora instead of Tony. For a little
Really.
just based on like how you write a little bit.
How I
But
do
I also
language,
can
Hmm
see
dialogue and
how you
stuff.
do
Mhm.
language. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
how you
That's
do
good.
place too, like
Mm-hmm.
more place to me, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, who knows? Maybe if I rethought it longer, maybe I would have said Zora Neale Hurston. But I might be saying Toni Morrison because I've read more Morrison than I
Mm.
haven't really reread. Now, Their Eyes Were Watching God, I've probably read 4 times. But Zora Neale Hurston's other work, I probably read, yeah, only once. Whereas Toni Morrison's work, I
You've
reread her
read that.
books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can
I
see
can
Yeah.
that.
see that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's Tony, so you can't go
Yeah.
wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can't.
All right.
Well,
That's it
that
on
is
my end.
all we have. That was
Well,
awesome. Thank you so
cool.
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
for
Thanks so much
coming.
for having me.
Um,
I really appreciate
we
this.
will put all your socials. You're welcome. We'll put all your socials in the description box. And if you guys would like to reach us, you can email us at theleagueofreaderspod@gmail.com or the League of Readers on Instagram and Threads. And I think that's it. We'll see y'all next
Okay.
week.
Plug yourself in, Deshawn, by the way.
But
Your
yeah, how
socials
can
and
they
stuff.
reach you?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
I am on Instagram. I am Deshawn Charles Winslow. There's no characters in between those letters, those 3 words. And on what do you call that? Threads. I am also Deshawn Charles Winslow. Yeah. And I'm
Okay,
on
perfect.
Facebook. I'm on and off of Facebook, but you can find me by, I think, Deshawn C. Winslow on Facebook. Yeah. Thank y'all so
So,
much.
You're
of course.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right.